Hola clase, muy buenos días. Soy el profesor Adams. Estamos en el módulo 7. Esta semana van a tener que hacer ejercicios o actividades relacionadas con el presente perfecto del subjuntivo. On page 254, we see the use of the presente perfecto de subjuntivo. I wanted to give a brief tutorial about that because it's quite confusing. Let's kind of stem back to the present perfect in the indicative form. I think we can understand the subjunctive form once we understand the indicative form clearly. Now, if I wanted to say to you, did you eat today? How would I translate that? Well, comiste hoy? If I wanted to say, have you eaten today? Then I would say, has comido hoy? The question is which one's better? Comiste hoy? Has comido hoy? Both phrases are grammatically sound. It really depends on the country or the region within the country. Just like in English, if I say, did you eat today? Have you eaten today? Some of my teenager students would say, Profesor Adams, we don't speak like that. Did you eat today? Who says, have you eaten today? And I get that. Some verb tenses are not commonly used. Others are used more than others. But if I use something like, have you visited Spain before? Now, if I say, did you visit Spain? That would be the preterite form specific to an actual moment. Like, did you visit Spain last week? But if I just simply want to say, have you ever? Have you visited Spain? Then it would be very appropriate to use the present perfect. ¿Has viajado a España? ¿Has visitado España? So just like in English, in Spanish there are more appropriate moments to use the present perfect, but oftentimes it's aesthetics. You can say comiste hoy or has comido hoy. So for some of my native Spanish speaking students, it's really hard to make that leap because just by growing up and speaking Spanish with your family and friends, it's often more common to use the preterite form and not the present perfect form. It's more common to say, hey, ¿estudiaste hoy? Instead of has estudiado hoy? So I wanted to kind of give that little intro because when we use the presente perfecto de subjuntivo, we're not only using the present perfect, but it's now in the subjunctive form. And we all understand the subjunctive form. There are different cláusulas. We have cláusula nominal, adjetival, adverbial, and that would be something like this. Es importante que estudies. Me gusta que estudies. Yo quiero que estudies conmigo. Those are examples of using two clauses, dos cláusulas. You've got two subjects. Yo quiero que estudies. We know that we can't just simply say, tú estudies mucho. We have to have some clause promoting the subjunctive. I like to call it my indicative truck pulling my subjunctive trailer. If I unhitch the truck, my trailer doesn't go anywhere. So I have to have something promoting the use of subjunctive. Es importante que estudies. Or we can also say, ¿hay alguien que hable español? La cláusula adverbial. Is there anybody who speaks Spanish? We can say something like this. Aunque estudies español una hora al día, no vas a poder aprender suficiente. Even though you study Spanish an hour a day. These are ways of using the subjunctive form. Well, let's use that in the present perfect form. So if I were to tell you, did you eat today? Comiste hoy? Or if I said, have you eaten today? Has comido hoy? Let's take that has comido. What are all the conjugations of haber in the indicative form of haber in the present perfect form? We have he comido, has comido, ha comido, hemos comido, habéis comido, han comido. Those are all the forms of haber in the present perfect form. So if I say you have eaten, let's put a clause in front of that to promote our subjunctive use. For example, I doubt that you have eaten. So we now have a different clause promoting a subjunctive form. So do we say, yo dudo que has comido? No, we have to change has. The comido, the participle, doesn't change. But I have to change has to hayas. And those are all the forms that you can see on page 254 in the text that I have laid out in front of you. Haya desarrollado, hayas crecido, haya consumido, hayamos dicho, hayáis hecho, hayan visto. All of those verbs that are in the participle form don't change. What changes is the verb haber. Instead of saying has, ha, hemos, han, etc., you say haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayáis, hayan. So now that we kind of know how to set it up, let's see some examples below. Es importante que las mujeres hayan conseguido posiciones de poder. There you go. Es importante que. And you have hayan conseguido. And the translation is there on the right for you to read. Have achieved, etc., etc. Well, we have ¿hay alguien en la clase que alguna vez se haya sentido discriminado? So that whole ¿hay alguien en la clase, la cláusula adjetival, that's promoting our subjunctive use of se haya sentido. And we could see the has ever felt discriminated. Has ever felt. The verb sentirse is a reflexive verb in this case. Se haya sentido. Now you wouldn't say se ha sentido. We have to use the subjunctive. Se haya sentido. That third one, we'll just read one of those. Aunque ya hayamos avanzado mucho de la lucha por la igualdad, queda mucho por hacer. So that adverbial clause promotes our subjunctive use, but instead of saying hemos avanzado, hayamos avanzado. Here are three more examples, just random examples that I wanted to put out for you. We have, me gusta que hayas estudiado. I like the fact that you have studied today. Me gusta que has estudiado? No. Me gusta que hayas estudiado. I like the fact that you have studied today. That would be the translation. No hay nadie que haya ido al planeta Marte. There isn't anybody that has gone to Mars, the planet Mars. So, haya ido is the participle of ir, to go, has gone. There isn't anybody who has gone. Haya ido. That's the subjunctive form of haber. So this is the presente perfecto de subjuntivo. Then we have, a pesar de que hayas sacado una A en este examen, tu calificación general es buena. Oh, en buena. There's a typo there. I apologize. It should say es buena. So, a pesar de que no hayas sacado una A en este examen, tu calificación es buena. So you've got hayas sacado. Despite the fact that you didn't get an A on the exam, your overall grade is still good. So let's take a look at one of the exercises in the textbook. La nueva mujer, en la página 255. En parejas, observan, we're going to skip that first part. Let's just jump right to the examples. So we have, es obvio que las nuevas generaciones de mujeres. Now, you're using es obvio. That's part of what I call voices. It's impersonal expressions that don't require a subjunctive because we're taking out the doubt. We've got es verdad, es obvio, es cierto, es claro, es evidente. Those are some examples of where we wouldn't use subjunctive. Because I would say, es importante que hables español, but I could also say, es obvio que hablas español. So I don't use the subjunctive, even though it looks like the structure. So es obvio is one of my exceptions in personal expressions that does not use the subjunctive. So what's the answer? Is it going to be se han negado or se hayan negado? We obviously have se han negado. Negarse is the verb we're conjugating. Se han negado. And since we have es obvio, we don't conjugate that present perfect to the subjunctive form of present perfect. Okay? Muchas mujeres. Do we have any type of clause promoting the subjunctive form right there? We don't. There's no indicative truck pulling a subjunctive trailer, so we don't use the subjunctive. So what's our answer? We simply keep it as han rechazado and not hayan rechazado. Número 3. En el último siglo, muchas mujeres, now this is a reflexive verb, se han opuesto. Se han opuesto, oponerse, to oppose something. A la humildad como característica, etc., etc. So, se han opuesto. So far, we haven't used the subjunctive form at all. It's just been the indicative form in the present perfect form. Okay? La mujer finalmente se ha integrado. The word is integrarse. Okay? So, la mujer finalmente se ha integrado con la fuerza en el mundo deportivo y ha visto, still in the indicative mode there, su poder a la fuerza de su cuerpo. So the word integrarse and the word bed, when we conjugate it in the present perfect form, it is in the indicative and not the subjunctive mode yet. So when are we going to get into some subjunctive modes? Well, we'll see. La mujer se ha vuelto menos recatada en su forma de vestir y, got a reflexive verb of hacer, se ha hecho independiente. Se ha vuelto, se ha hecho. Up to this point, we haven't used any subjunctive forms yet. So don't be thrown off by, oh, I'm supposed to use the subjunctive. No, the instructions simply say, completen las oraciones siguientes con la forma apropiada del presente perfecto. Las primeras oraciones requieren el indicativo y el último grupo requiere el subjuntivo. So we'll get to the subjunctive momentarily. So we're seeing examples of the indicative. Now let's see some examples of the subjunctive. But one more indicative. Desde el siglo XX, las mujeres han empezado a romper muchas barreras de género. So, empezar, has begun or start. Han empezado a romper muchas barreras de género. Good. Now let's do some subjunctive modes. Can we point out why we're changing it to the subjunctive? In the previous examples, there were no indicators. There were no clauses prior promoting us to use subjunctive. The only tricky one was number one with es obvio, que. But we know that that's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It is an indicative form used, not a subjunctive. So, es bueno que, we got some emotion there. Es bueno que este cuadro de Yolanda López, is it going to be se ha hecho or se haya hecho? Es bueno que se haya hecho. The a changes to haya. Me parece interesante que Yolanda López haya usado. Me parece interesante que. That's another clause indicating our subjunctive mode. Haya usado. Has used. It appears to me very interesting that Yolanda has used la serpiente, the snake, de esa manera. No creo que. They're taking out the doubt. No, you're not saying creo que. You're saying no creo que nosotros. Is it hemos visto? Nope, it's hayamos visto. Hayamos visto el cuadro que represente mejor el cambio de actitud, etc., etc. Número 10. Ella expresa un mensaje muy importante sin que el mérito artístico de la obra, sin que, you got that cláusula adverbial, sin que haya sufrido, sin que haya sufrido. Perdón, la cláusula adjetival. No, adverbial. Sin que la obra haya sufrido. Cuando las mujeres hayan conseguido, this is the use of when, it hasn't happened yet. Cuando las mujeres hayan conseguido igualdad completa, este cuadro todavía representará. So we got that use of future. So cuando, it's like saying, when I study, I learn. When I study tomorrow, I will learn. Cuando estudie mañana, aprenderé. That's the same thing that's doing there. When women have obtained complete equality. Cuando las mujeres hayan conseguido igualdad completa, este cuadro todavía representará la época de cambio. So we've got uses of the indicative and uses of the subjunctive, both in the present perfect form. And I wanted to give you some of these examples because many of you are very confused usually throughout the explanation. When you do self-study on online classes, you can read the instructions, you can see some examples, but without further explanation, it's very tough to get. So I hope this helps during this week. Buena suerte. Adiós.